Ayn Rand once said, if you feel like you encounter a contradiction, you must check your premises. And in life, I think it's really, really important for us to do that. Now, we think that we're honest with ourselves, but the truth is we tend to live our lives in denial. We have this idea of what we want things to be. And then the truth is different from what we want it to be. And so we convince ourselves that it isn't the way it is, despite all the facts. It's that abusive relationship, but you think to yourself, well, if I did better, or if I did different, or if I was just a little more patient, then that person would treat me better. Or we think to ourselves, you know, maybe this person just isn't there for us, and you know, it doesn't even have to be a romantic relationship, it could be any sort of a relationship. It just doesn't really bear good fruit in my life, but I want to make something more of it, so I keep hanging on and keep waiting and keep trying to be patient. And then we say, well, patience is a virtue, you know? It's kind of like in gaming. People will say, well, MMOs take a while to grow on you. You have to put in a lot of time, and then it will get good after 1 or 2 or 3 or 400 hours. Well, but the truth is, if you are not enjoying your experience the entire time you're doing it, then it's not giving you a good experience. That's the truth. But we want to say, it's good. It's just me. Or it's going to get better after a while. For me, it was like that with Final Fantasy XIV. Everybody said, that's a wonderful game. You've got to get into it. It's incredible. And I don't deny there's some incredible things about that game. But overall, my experience was not incredible. It wasn't a good fit. I found myself kind of almost dreading to log in. It was more of a chore than just something I really enjoyed, because I didn't like the content very much. And so I was waiting for it to get good. I was looking forward to the good part that everyone said, it's coming, it's coming. But I didn't really enjoy the experience. And then there were other gaming experiences where I thought, you know, this is really cool. I want to do this. And those are the experiences that I wound up having a better time with. But first I had to accept the fact that if I wasn't enjoying myself, then I need to go ahead and, you know, move on. So the other thing I think that's important to talk about is that you shouldn't really quit on things. We like to say, oh, well, I quit this game. I quit on this person. I gave up. I threw in the towel. I put my foot down. I said, enough is enough. I'm done right now. Well, I don't know that that's really the way to go. It's really just more about being additive, in the sense that you look for good things and you add those to your life. And then there will come a time when some of the other things that wind up being lower quality content fade away. And it's not that you ever really said, I'm quitting. It's just, there comes a time when it's the last time. And that's all right. Because you've filled that space with something that's more wholesome, something that serves you better. And sometimes things can be perfectly good, but they're not really good for us. And another thing I wanted to talk about in this video is the importance of value and your time. I think on one hand, people can be far too impatient. It's okay to take your time on something. It's okay not to be in a hurry. But it's also true that we have a limited amount of time in our lives. And so it's important for us to factor that into our calculus when we're trying to figure out whether we're going to be patient or if we're going to chart a different course. You don't want to be so patient that you close doors to good opportunities because you're holding out forever for that one thing it's ultimately never going to deliver. Another point that I think is important is that something can be really good, but not good in every way. And sometimes the good things and the bad things can be just as intense. So that's where we tend to have this sense of contradiction in our lives, because we look at somebody or we look at something and we say, but it's so good. So is it good or is it bad? And the truth is, it's both. It's bad in some ways, and it's equally good in some other ways. And you can have someone with really good traits, and yet, because they have that one thing they can't move past, overall they wind up being a net negative in your life. And so it's important to acknowledge that. Sometimes, no matter how much you want to see the good in the world, you have to take steps to protect yourself from the nature of other people and other things, because your time is too valuable to allow other things or people to waste it. If your life to them is a game, but your life is important to you, it could be a game that you sink a bunch of hours into, but you don't really enjoy it because you just have that sunk cost fallacy telling you that you can't log out. It could be trying to hold out for some relationship that's never going to be what you hoped it would be. You have to forgive people. You have to forgive things. You have to get to the point where you don't have that sense of, my goodness, how dare other people waste my time? How dare they do that to me? You don't want to have that poor me sort of an attitude in life. You just want to be aware of your feelings. Be sensitive to the fact that while you should be patient, you also need to be proactive sometimes. Try to strike a reasonable balance there. And sometimes if you listen to that still small voice, there's a time for being patient, and there's also a time when if you don't do something, you've waited too long. So it's important to be sensitive to your feelings, sensitive to that inner voice, that guiding feeling that's just always there telling you, what you need to do. It's kind of like an instinct, I guess. But you can't really progress until you start being able to reassess your premises in life. So if you're not having a good day, don't just be frustrated. Ask yourself, what is it that's really upsetting me? What is it that's really taking away my inner peace? And then what you have to do is you have to take away the temptation to say it's all somebody else's fault, because it's not. It's you. Because nobody else can take away our innate right to have inner peace. But we can when we don't acknowledge the truth, and then we blame other people for not aligning themselves with the narrative we have written of truth we expect them to be. The truth is going to be what it is. And you can't have a fantasy in your mind and then be angry at the world for not manifesting the dream that you made up. No matter how much people talk about positive thinking, changing the course of things, and the law of attraction, bringing things into your life. Like, I remember a story, this guy talking about the law of attraction. He said that he had this picture of a house that he wanted, and it was kind of like a storyboard sort of thing. And then years passed, he forgot about it, and then he took out this box of old pictures, and he found that picture of the house that he'd fantasized about having when he was a child or young man or something. And it turns out he actually was living in that exact house, and he didn't even realize it. Somehow all the pieces had just fallen into place. Well, maybe there is a certain truth to that idea that we can bring good things into our life by thinking about them. But there's also truth in the fact that we sometimes can keep good things from coming into our life because we're so busy dwelling on dreams that we forget to live. So always stop and ask, what fruit does this bear in my life? Is it giving me a sense of peace? Is it giving me a sense of hope? Is it giving me a sense of joy? And then if the answer is no, then you have to let something go. Very seldom do we really need to fix our problems by adding more complexity. Usually, we just need to let something go. I will close with the allegory of the goddess Hecate, which I've spoken about before, but I really like it. One of her symbols is the dagger. The dagger represents the importance of severing ties. Another of her symbols is the snake, which is a symbol of letting go of your old self, because snakes shed their skin. And then another of her symbols is a key, which represents access to knowledge or wisdom. But you can't have the door unlocked for you until you sever those ties that are holding you back and allow yourself to let go of that old skin that you've been hanging on to for a long time. And then she carries 3 torches for the past and the present and the future, all that ever was or is or will be, the Alpha and the Omega, reminding us that time is beyond our understanding, And we have to seek the light on all of those planes, not just one of them. So it's not just about what we do today. It's also about what we're doing to find peace with the entirety of our existence. We should always live with a mindfulness of the fact that time, it transcends the moment. So we have to be at peace with everything that's in our past. And we have to have peace with whatever's in our future, if we're going to have peace with where we are right now. As always, on your journey, best of luck for the adventure ahead. Till next time, thank you.